Welcome, fellow seekers of challenge and triumph, to the SufferSooner podcast. Join us on a journey where ordinary souls embark on extraordinary endeavors. From the relentless grind of gravel to the punishing gauntlet that is triathlon, we've tasted our fair share of suffering. So fellow endurance warriors, let's lace up our shoes, strap on our goggles, and dive headfirst into the challenge, knowing that with every step, stroke, and pedal forward, we grow stronger together. All right, guys, welcome to episode number 39, or not 39, 59.
Let's restart. You don't have to end anything. I'll just edit that. That's so funny though. 39. I was like,
We're way back.
I'm like, we rolled back the time machine.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. Party time. Excellent. Woo, woo, woo.
Oh, yeah. Hi, we're in Delaware.
Been a long day, hasn't it?
It has. All right, guys. Welcome to episode number 59. We're going to be talking tires today. Tire Mania. It's a hot topic, man. It's GCN got into it.
Episode. You're driving me nuts.
Yeah, you see it all over Unbound's Facebook page. They're talking about tires. So we figured we'd, jump into the subjects, toss our little 2 cents in.
More people need to be talking about tires, so why not us, right?
Why not us, right?
So, great. No, it's all good.
No, I figured I am kind of a tire, I am constantly looking for, speed and stuff like that. So, but I have been riding bikes since, for a long time. So, I've ridden a lot of tires and different tires and mountain biking and all that stuff. I just understand that, the tires is for gravel bikes is, kind of this, coming from the road background. You're like, I just ride the tires.
Right. Well, even in road, you get a lot of debate about, should I ride the 28s, the 25s, the 23s, the 32s? I mean,
you're starting to get a little bit more now because the frames are accommodating a little bit more. But even then, it was just like, just ride this and you'll be fine,
Yeah, because it's funny because that Roubaix I had a few years ago, I still have another Roubaix, but the Roubaix I had, it's a big deal that it could hold up to, I think, 32 mil tires on it, and we fit 33s on there, and I rode a big gravel race on that thing. I still don't know how that happened. But yeah, I mean, even the road bikes, as you said, I mean, you're starting to see road bikes that are accommodating, higher than that, like 30. I think the new Roubaix, I forget what it, but it's, I want to say 38. I don't think that's right.
Yeah, I think but
it's pretty high. It's
there's
pretty wide tires.
They're starting to go almost to 40 mil tires in some of the road frames.
But you think about it, there's a lot of people that buy like a light frame gravel bike, and they use it as a road bike too, which is smart considering how much these things cost. I mean, it's the price of a car, for crying out loud. So
yeah. So,
but no, we're gonna get a tire mania. It's fun. I mean, it's a good topic, and there are some legitimate conversations to be had, and maybe we can help some folks sift through some of the noise and the hype, and then get down to like, what are the things you really need to look for, especially if you are going to do gravel. And
yeah, even in triathlon too, there's the tire choice too. So it's, it's in all aspects now, but it more so as we get into gravel and gravel season now.
Yeah.
So, news.
Well, so on the tire front, I think part of what spurred this whole topic was I saw Specialized came out. It's been a couple of weeks now, but they came out with the Pathfinder 45s now. And I'm like, well, before they had a 42, and we made the switch to the 47.
Yeah, I went to the 47s last year,
right,
and I've been just loving them.
Never wanted to look back. In fact, I'm not sure what I'm going to do with the 42s and the 38s I have out in the garage.
They're just there in case one of these ends up getting shredded one day, and I need something to ride on. But yeah, I don't know why the industry went to a 45 on that. And I just, with the thing with gravel is the wider tires tend to roll better as far as the gravel tires do. Yes, you're gonna find, if you're riding on a road with gravel tires, then you should probably ride road tires, not 37, 47.
You have the choice.
Yeah, 47 mil tires. You should be riding something around like 30 on the road. But as far as the gravel side goes, like, anything now, I wouldn't really ride a 38 on anything. I mean, I used to ride that
gravel.
all the time for gravel. Yeah.
Yeah, you had a set of 38s. I think they were more bald than, most automobile tires in a junkyard.
Yeah.
I mean, they were pretty rough but they were good tires and
yeah, they were good. But coming to the 47s,
it's a whole different world.
The fact that I, with my weight and size, I can run those at 25 PSI and just kind of float over the chunk. Whereas the 38s, they had to be at like 40 PSI.
Yeah, you bounced around a lot.
I would get beat up if it was chunky.
Yeah.
So.
Well, so yeah, I think on the news front, I mean, the fact that these tires are coming out, like I said, they put a big release around this 45, and it just seems kind of odd. But
it kind of seems like Specialized was behind the curve on the way they're
selling the marketing. It's 20% lower rolling resistance and all this. I mean, maybe it is. I don't know. Maybe we're going to find out that that all the pros win all the races on 45s this year, and that's the big thing. But you mentioned kind of at the opening, you mentioned GCN, and we try to keep an eye on what some of the big guys are doing in the podcast and the broadcasting kind of stuff, and they had a whole episode on trying to, I guess, stir the pot on if wider road tires were really better. And guess what it boils down to? News alert, it depends on the situation.
Yeah.
Well, no kidding. Like, that's the reality. And so again, all these episodes just drives me nuts because all these folks just drum up the drama around the topic, and it's like, here's the thing. Okay, if you're riding on the road, use a road tire and use ideally a wider road. Now, if you want to race and you want the absolute fastest, you're going to have to do trial and error. Because guess what? The fastest tire for me is not going to be the same as it is for you.
And here's the thing too. It's your weight dependent, your aero dependent, what type of rim and your rim profile dependent. Like all of these factors play into what's the fastest tire. So maybe for Danny, his 28s are the fastest road tires that he could be riding. And for me, riding a 25 because I have a different wheel set or something like that, or the way my bike is set up is a little bit different. That might be the fastest one. So how do you do that? Well, you go out and you ride a certain section of road with different tires, different pressures. Hopefully you do it all on the same day. I know it's a pain, but like you carve out basically a full-on day, and you go and you hope the wind doesn't change, and you go out and you test these things. That's the only way you're going to know what's the fastest thing for you in your certain situation.
Right.
So that's how it is. And coming from triathlon, that's what we do in triathlon. I have spent many hours on a certain section of road. All right, I'm going to tilt my aero bars up. Okay, is that faster?
Right.
Okay, I'm going to put those back, but now I'm going to put my head lower.
Right.
And so you're just doing this trial and error, and you're finding out what's the fastest thing for you. And that's one of the things that you can do. But for most of us, that aren't really concerned about being fast, comfort is fast.
Yeah.
And for that, I'm like, go with what's the most comfortable. And usually that's a little bit wider than you would normally run.
Yeah, I think that's exactly it. It's like, I think when I was a newer cyclist, and I think a lot of newer cyclists do this, so you get kind of wrapped up in you do get wrapped up in the marketing, and you get sort of sucked into, well, this tire is faster than that tire. And then when you really break it down, you're talking like seconds on a 40K.
Yeah.
And it's like,
or tenths of the seconds.
Yeah. And it's
not
like,
much.
So maybe this tire, you know what? I'll tell you what, even if this tire saves me 10 seconds on a 40K, how's that going to really help me in a local group ride when I'm just hanging out in a group?
Right.
So what? So maybe it saves me a watt or two in my group ride. So now if I'm racing and I want to save that 10 seconds, then sure, maybe that's important. But again, that's a whole different perspective, and just no reason to get caught. If you're newer in cycling, you're probably not at the racing side of things quite yet.
Right. So. Yeah. You don't want to go out there with you don't want to go out to a group ride on the road in a mountain bike knobby tires. You're just not going to have a great day. But you're not going to want to show up to the gravel group ride on a pair of 23.
Pretty sure we've seen that happen.
Mill tires, and then just wonder why you flat the whole time.
Yeah. Pretty sure we've seen guys show up on mountain bike tires on a road ride, and I feel bad for them.
Yeah, it's not.
I can't pedal slow enough. I'm sorry.
Yeah. just like riding around them as they're pedaling up, and they're just like, oh, they're
I'm
just
trying not
having
to be a
time.
jerk, dude. I really am.
I'll wait for you up there. But yeah, no, that's,
Well, so when we get into some of the choices though on tires, I know that we talk about the sort of the tire protection side of it versus the speed side of it, and
well, I like to think of it, like you have two different sides. You want reliability, like you want to know that like this tire is going to get you to the end, right?
right,
You're riding across, like, let's say Greenland or something. Like you're riding where there's not a bike shop like every 5 miles.
Yeah.
You're kind of out in the middle of nowhere. So you want something that's like, I can either repair it or it's pretty much bomb proof. Like I have to really mess up to blow this
Right.
tire up. And then you have the fast side,
yeah,
which is usually, well, all the time, fast tires are usually thin. They're usually supple.
yeah,
And, basically if you look at them wrong,
and they wear out pretty quick too.
if you look at them wrong, they can pop on you. So it's kind of like you're balancing these two things. Do you want to go fast? Do you feel confident in being able to be picked up? Do you have the support around you to be able to just ride fast, and, whatever happens. If you get to the end of the race, great. If not, then, you're changing out the tire or something like that.
Right.
Or are you wanting the flat protection? Do you not want to be changing your tire on the side of the road? And I do this for the winter. Like when I ride in the winter, I ride the thickest walled things, because I do not want to be changing a tire in 30-degree or less weather, just freezing. So it's like, basically I could ride those on the rim and the tires would get home.
Right. Yeah, and I think that's it. I mean, we talked about this in the context of a race like Unbound, where you're out there for 200 miles, and even if you just do a adventure ride and you're doing 120 to 150 miles, and you're right, like you don't know where the next bike shop is going to be, or where you're going to be able to stop. So, I mean, picking that ultra slick race tire is probably not a good idea. And we've I don't care to share it. I mean, we're not sponsored or anything, but like I'm a huge fan of the Pathfinders, the Specialized Pathfinders.
Yeah.
Great tires as far as I'm concerned for most conditions.
Yep.
They also have the that nice center tread on them that's flat, that when you are on road sections, it kind of cuts down some of the rolling resistance and keeps you moving. But I also know that there's so many people that swear by other brands for the protection reliability. And with this new tire that Specialized just came out with, I'm sitting there going, wow, I mean, 45, 2 millimeter difference, not huge, but how much difference is it really going to make? And even if it's 20% faster rolling resistance, maybe that saves me a few minutes, handfuls of minutes over the course of, a 200-mile event. But if I end up getting a flat, that just wipes out. I mean, I get a flat with any tire. So why am I so concerned about rolling resistance as long as it's in the ballpark? I mean, you don't want to go to a knobby mountain bike tire where you have just totally different profile.
Right.
But I do think that, depending on the type of event you're doing and the type of terrain, I tend to lean more towards the protection side, or at least have something that's, slightly more on the protected and reliability versus the speed. Now on a road bike, totally different story.
Yep.
So,
yeah, I usually tend to go, if it's an A event on a triathlon or a road bike, it's basically the fastest tires I can find.
Yeah.
And it's like, and as long, and you got to do your research. It's like, if you're riding somewhere where the roads aren't great, then you're probably going to want to err for a little bit more protection. But if you're riding where the roads are smooth, then, you're like, get the fastest thing that you can ride, and know that there is a chance that you will flat, and that will cost you time.
Right.
So
when we did training for Ironman a few years ago, I switched over to latex tubes on that bike, which I had ridden the butyl tubes for forever, just because, I mean, reliability, right? But I switched over to latex for two reasons, in all the training rides too, for two reasons. One, I wanted to get trust in the latex tire and the tube, because you hear, well, they're not as durable. I'm not sure about that. I think they actually are quite durable.
They're durable, but the thing that you never experience is when they get a hole, that hole comes on fast.
Right.
So you got to be ready. So when you think that you hit something and you have a flat, you better be slowing down, because the next stop it's just basically coming off the rim.
Yeah.
It's one of those things that just happens quick. Where the butyl tube, just kind of slowly leaks out,
Mm-hmm.
which is, kind of nice. The same thing with the plastic tubes.
Right.
They're kind of like latex. They will do that really fast deflation. So it happens, but now you have, tubeless, which is, gives you the same kind of rolling resistance as a latex. So
Right.
like you can, depending on the tire setup and the wheel setup for the road, you can be saving almost 20 watts.
Oh yeah.
Switching from your butyl tube to latex or a tubeless setup.
Yeah, and I think that's why, again, just depends on the discipline what you're doing. I mean, for an Ironman event, you're doing 100 and anywhere from 100 to 120 miles or 114 miles, and it's super important that yes, you want reliability, but speed is
Speed's
your
king.
friend.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, and the thing too with Ironman events, like you're looking at something that like they have sweepers that sweep the course. Really.
There's neutral support.
There's neutral support.
Yep.
There's, you have your special needs bags, you have all this stuff. So like you have access to this kind of stuff. So you're never far away from getting able to be changed.
That's
Whereas like you're on a gravel event, you could be like 50 miles out in the middle of, Kansas somewhere and just be like, I don't even know where the closest place is.
Right.
So yeah, you kind of weigh on the speed versus, how fast do you want to go or how fast or how much trouble do you want to be in if you get a flat. So,
right.
And then, that's usually the deciding factor. So, talking about my situation for Unbound, I'm going to err a little bit more on the side of fast because I want, I beat the sun. I want to try to get, up in my standings or the general standings of stuff. So I'm going to try to go towards a more faster tire.
Good luck to you.
Yep. So Danny's going to be, as soon as Danny rides by me and goes, it's like, how's those tires working out for you, buddy? So, which is fine. It's the gamble.
It's the gamble. It's all luck. I mean, it really is luck. Like last year when, flatted.
Yeah, we had the exact same tires. We rode the exact same route.
Yeah, I mean, the difference is, one section, I didn't get the line choice I wanted. And quite frankly, I'm not even sure if it matters because we've talked about this countless times, but, the Flint Hills are known for the sharp rocks. Those rocks move no matter what line you take. Those rocks move, and all it takes is the tiniest sliver of one to cut the tire, and it does. And so, you choose the best line you can. There's a lot of luck involved. I had bad luck that day, but yeah, we rode the same tires. And guess what? The tires I put on, those were brand new tires. Yeah. Yeah, it sucks that there's a cut in the sidewall of one of them. It makes for a nice local ride tire now.
Yeah.
But all kidding aside, like, it's just part of it. And I'm not sure any tire would have survived the cut that tire has. And so going back to your point, like, hey, you know what? If you get a brand new set of tires and they are just naturally a little bit faster, then you know what? Roll with them.
Yeah.
See what happens. And you know what? If you put them on for training rides and all of a sudden you start flying up the road on me, guess what I'm doing?
Yeah.
I'm tracking those damn things down.
Right. Be like, what tire did you get?
Yeah. Wait a minute.
Yeah. So, there's a great website. It's called bicyclerollingresistance.com. It's super great. I use it. I'm a subscribed member. I
Free
pay
plug
money for them. Yeah. Free
Nice.
plug for them. But, they test tires. That's all they do.
Yeah.
But the other thing is they test tires on a steel drum and then like a steel drum with some knobs on it, right? And then they get the rolling resistance on all that. The other part that you have to do is you have to get these tires that you think are going to be faster, and then you go out and test them at different pressures, at different speeds, all that kind of stuff. And I may invest $100 into a new set of tires and find out they're not any faster. Yeah, they're not any faster than the tires I'm running.
You bring up a really good point about the pressure side of things. So we did ride the same tires at Unbound.
Yes,
but you ride your tires very soft. You mentioned like in the 25 to under 30 psi.
Yeah,
typically.
they're usually 28 in the back, 25 in the front.
Yeah, so I typically run mine closer to 30, like a 29 to 30, and I weigh a bit less than you. Not a lot, but a bit less.
Yeah.
So
You're almost, I think you're probably like, what, 30 pounds?
Yeah, 20 to 30 pounds.
Yeah, 20 to 30
somewhere
pounds.
in that range. So, but the point is that the whole idea is that with tubeless, you can ride those lower pressures. And since I'm lighter than you, I should be riding a lighter pressure.
Right.
I have yet to find comfort in riding at 25 to 26 PSI because for me, it feels very sluggish. The tire does not feel responsive. I don't like the feel of it. So in my head, I'm like, I'm going too slow. And I have never gotten over that. And maybe this is the year I do when we start riding outside more. But as a result of that, though, because I'm running a higher pressure, there's a very high likelihood that I contributed to my own flat because of that. Which is, again, the benefit of lower pressures, and this is why mountain bike tires are becoming so popular in gravel racing, is because they have such low pressure, they have a higher puncture resistance because the tire tends to just roll over whatever it is versus
or deform a little bit
deforming
easier.
And wrapping around the sharp object versus the sharp object puncturing.
Yep.
And so, that's one of the benefits. And again, the big debate in gravel for a few years has been getting deeper or wider and wider tires,
right?
And getting as much as you can fit on your frame, which is why I can't figure out why the manufacturers haven't done this. Like everybody's the joke about gravel bikes is, oh, so you mean you got a mountain bike from the 90s? Yeah, that's pretty much what. So why aren't we getting mountain bike? Like we might as well just have a mountain bike frame that's framed up for sized up for a 700 tire.
Yeah,
like that's what I want right now.
Yeah,
but good luck finding one.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the way it's the way that seems that everything's going, and the thing the reason that mountain bike tires and I think gravel tires are slowly adopting this,
Mm-hmm.
and I think to rip on Specialized a little bit, the fact that they didn't make it in a 50 or 47
it's
or
kind
whatever,
of tone deaf, isn't it?
Yes, just ridiculous. But they have changed the way they make the tire and the casing,
Mm-hmm.
and so the sidewall.
It's a whole different construction process.
So they did it like they make mountain bike tires, which, if you look at a gravel tire and you look at in some road tires, it's basically the same rubber, just kind of, just all the way around that tube, just all around that tire. It's just the same thickness. And then, when you get to the higher end ones, you'll have like a patch of rubber in the middle, and then it's very thin. Like you get like a Victoria Corsa Pro or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like razor thin sidewalls.
Yeah.
And that's what makes them fast, because the sidewall can deform
Yeah.
as your contact patch stays on the ground. And so gravel tires traditionally have just been that construction, basically. Just, they were like, we need to make sure that no gravel's going to get through here, so we're going to make them thick all the way around.
Yeah.
And so that's why they roll like garbage. And so that's why everybody goes to the mountain bike tires, because mountain bike tires are made kind of like high-end road tires, where there's a thick patch of rubber on the bottom for good ground contact, and then the sidewalls are nice and soft and thin, so you have good rolling resistance. The deformation or the hysteresis of the tire is a lot better. And so, getting back to Specialized, they finally did it with these new gravel tires.
Sure.
They made the sidewall thinner.
Yeah.
And then they made the contact patch right. So I think they step one foot in the right direction, and then with the size wise, they go kind of in the other direction.
It's going to be really interesting to see, because there's probably a couple people going, it's 2 millimeters. Is it that big of a deal? Actually, it kind of is.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, you can tell the difference.
When I went from 38s to 42s, I rode on, Danny gave me a set of his 42s, for a season, and just going from 38 to 42 was a huge difference. Right. And then I was like, well, if 38 to 42 is good, then what about, 42 to 47?
Mm-hmm.
And when I went to 47, it's like, all right, dude. So
we both switched to 47s at the same time, if I remember right. We went out and rode, and it was like, you can feel they're heavier. Like, they're heavier tires.
It feels heavier. You feel kind of like when you're riding, you're like, until you get used to it, you're kind of like bobbing around, and you get the pressures right. Now it's like,
oh, I love that. I love that tire.
Yeah. I can't think of another, like, going back. The idea of going back to like 38s on a gravel road makes my back hurt.
And when the race we did earlier this year, I mean, there were a lot of people on more narrow tires. They weren't any faster.
No,
I mean, and I'm sure they're very good. I mean, they're very good riders. So I mean, it's not like they weren't faster because of their tires. I can tell you that.
Yeah.
So I just think that I think the 47s are here to stay. And if I could find a 50 that would fit, if a 50 would fit my frame, I would go to a 50 in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
I would really rather jump higher than that, but I would have to try. Like that's definitely buying a new frame, and then that's also like, is it really going to give you the benefit? Like now you start getting maybe the weight of the tire is enough in a terrain like we have out here, so hilly. The weight of the tire might actually become a factor.
Right.
I don't know.
So. And that brings us on to the next thing, right? Is like, decide the tires on where you think the moves are going to happen, right? So like if the course is all gravel, like Unbound, then you could probably get away with a wide, chunkier mountain bike tire.
Right.
But we do have some gravel races around here that have some road sections. So then you're like, okay, well, now you're looking at like, okay, so if there's a good solid road climb, I don't want to have chunky gravel tires going up this road climb for 8 miles, you know?
Yeah.
Like, so then you're like, okay, so, that's what you want to do when you're picking a tire too, is deciding whether or not, what's the biggest limiter on this, route or whatever you're going to do? Like if it's climbing, if it's climbing, then you're going to want something that's fast and kind of light and be able to be something that you have, like an ace in your back pocket.
Sure.
Whereas and then you can take it a little bit easier on the gravel sections.
Yeah.
Or on the less desirable sections.
Yeah.
But if it's like, oh, there's this, 5 miles of super chunk out there.
Yeah.
And maybe that's where you think the race is going to happen. So then you gear up for that. So, that's kind of like, that also plays into your tire choice too. And the same thing with triathlon. If you have a rough road, you're going to want to go with a wider tire so you can absorb some of that.
Right.
That chosh.
Yeah, because the fatigue that puts on your body. And that's the thing, again, we draw all these parallels back to gravel, but it's just, if there's one thing I learned after riding gravel for a season early on, is that, again, no free miles, and that really beats your body up. So now, fast forward to triathlon, and, the year we did it, we were fortunate to have pretty good roads. There weren't too many rough sections, but you're in an aero position, you're trying to hold it, your core is already engaged, and then all of a sudden
you still have a marathon to
you
run.
Still have a marathon, and you're like, oh my gosh, the last thing I need is like a bumpy ride right now. Like you just kind of want to settle in, let the legs and the hips do the work, and then just be ready for that run. But you can't if you've got a bumpy section. You've done a few 70.3s where the roads were just atrocious.
Yeah. And basically I come in there with my shoulders all beat up and my neck's all sore, and it makes the run that much harder because you've spent all the time trying to just brace yourself on the bike that you get off the bike and you were like, man, I already felt like I ran half a marathon already, and now I got to go run a half marathon.
I really have to go run it.
This is going to be horrible.
Yeah.
So
I think trying to decide, like you say, where the moves are going to happen. It's a lot of that's going to come down to, you may not even know the course, and you can look at the elevation chart all you want. It really doesn't tell you that, hey, there's a big muddy section here. Think about the year we did Unbound and you had all the mud, and how many people probably wish they could have changed their tire choice. And I think we were still riding 42s that year. The 47s hadn't come out yet. Is that right?
Yeah.
I think that's the year we had 42s still. And it's probably a good thing, because if we had the 47s, we would have been cleaning a lot of mud out much sooner. Now we carried our bikes and we walked it, but I mean, that might have saved us a little bit. So it's just hard to say. I think the best thing you can do is go ride your bike. Yeah. Right? Go ride your bike and go tinker with it. Figure it out.
And with everything, it basically depends on the tires that you feel the most comfortable with are probably going to be the best tires.
Yeah.
If you want something with a little aggressive side knobs and you feel like it bites into the corner, just having that in your mind is so much better than going like, oh, I went to these new tires and they don't have side knobs and I don't know if I'm going to make it. And then you end up taking every corner, 10 miles an hour slower than you normally would. And then you're just losing time. So all the gains that you got on a faster tire are just washing away. So definitely just feel comfortable in your choice. And if anything, just ask what the locals are riding and just do whatever they're doing.
Yeah. I mean, you keep bringing up a good point about the tread choice and all of that. I remember when I went from the 32s on that Roubaix bike, and then I rode that same course the next year, parts of the same course the next year, and that was when I had the first set of Pathfinder 38s. And what a difference! Not just the 6 millimeter difference in the tires themselves, but the fact that there's knobs on the side of that. You don't think about how important those little knobs are. They don't look like much, and certainly there's more aggressive treads than the Pathfinders, but just the ability to have confidence in knowing that that's going to bite in the corner. You don't have to sweat it as much, and you can take a little more heat into the corner. Going to the 47s from that is just nice. It's just a totally different tire. You can how many times do we go into loose corners now and you just send it, and you're just like, well, I guess if it slides out, it slides out. Now there is still one corner up here not too far that we rode. We rode this last weekend. We both slowed way down. That's Travis's corner.
Yeah, that's my corner where I went into it hot, and then I was pedaling too hard, broke the back tire loose, and
it was done.
I went down.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I mean, but that's part of riding too, is, like I do, when we do gravel clinics and stuff, I encourage people to just feel what it feels like when the bike kind of breaks loose, and you kind of know where that limit is.
Yeah.
And it's good. What the nice thing is on gravel, it's a little bit forgiving. It's a little bit softer than hard pavement. So you can kind of crash and then kind of get back up and go about it. Like, more so on mountain biking too. Like, on mountain bike, I rail it until I feel like the whole bike's just like coming apart. So it's fun that way, but like you kind of get an idea of where your limits are, and that's also good too. So just knowing your equipment. So
yeah, for sure. So
I hope this muddied up your tire choices.
Yeah, right.
Or anything, but the best thing I can say is always just, ask the locals, whatever they're riding, just pick something pick whatever tire they say that that you feel comfortable with, as far as,
The other thing I might I might suggest too is when you talk to, like, people love talking tires. It's just like I said, you see it on all the online forums. It's always a hot topic. When somebody says I love this tire. Why?
Yeah.
Like what about it do you like? Because, a lot of times you'll find out people love it because they spent $60 on a tire and they got to rationalize it somehow to themselves that it was
or
okay
they spend
to spend
$100 on a tire.
Yeah. So okay, so you like it because you're in the whole $100 and you kind of have to like it. I got it. Okay.
Yeah.
But then, there's a lot of us that, I don't have to have the most expensive tire. In fact, not many times I've seen the most expensive tire is the best tire, at least for me. And I could tell you why. I mean, I'll be happy to talk to you about why I love the Pathfinder. And there's probably a better tire out there for me. I'm sure there is. I just haven't run across it yet. And I'm not going to buy tires endlessly until I find it. But when I talk to somebody and they go, you know what, this is, I used to ride Pathfinders, and then I rode these and I tried this one out, and this is why I like it, why it's different. You're like, oh,
yeah,
it's a good idea. Maybe I should give them a shot then. Because, tires, I don't know about you, I put a fresh set of tires on every year.
Yeah.
Started the first race, I have about a couple weeks before, I try to get a little bit of break-in period on them. I put a fresh set of tires on every year, and then the other ones go to my sag stop kit for the long races. So anyway, good stuff.
Yeah. So, I have yet to find, like, again, I make my choices on, reliability, because I'm not at the front of the peloton, right? I'm not I don't get a paycheck from winning races. So I just, I pay money for these races. I want to enjoy all the aid stations and all the things that all these races have to offer. And so that's why I choose the Pathfinders. They're decently rolling, and they're definitely puncture protection for sure. I've yet to get a flat on them. I had Victoria Terra Speeds, and I've flatted those many a times.
Yeah.
And so I've yet to flat. And again, I'm a big guy and I like to rail corners, and I bomb descents because that's where I make up the most speed. So it's not like I'm going slow and just like, like it's on.
Yeah.
So,
well, I think for me, I won't be buying tires next. I'll be buying the in-ear headphones, so I don't knock my headphones off. And if anybody's watching the video saw that was good.
Yep.
So, but no, I think I think it's the endless debate, and unfortunately, it's also where manufacturers, because they know there's so much debate over it, and there's no real there's no real answer about, oh, this is why a
But you
tire
can't
is
get
better
you
for
can't
you.
have both. You
Right.
can't have ultimate protection and
Right.
you can't have speed.
Right.
They're just on two opposite ends.
Yeah,
of
one sacrifices the other.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And so you have to. So basically, what they're playing for is this balancing act.
Mhm.
You know, and so you basically, what I'm saying is make the right choice for you. If you want to go fast, just understand that chances are you'll probably flat.
Maybe it's the compound reason. Maybe they need to have a whole new material. Wait for the.
Yeah. Okay. It's not how physics works, but okay.
All right. So you ready for some rapid fire on the topic?
Yeah, I think we're ready for some rapid fire.
All right.
I'm ready.
So our good old friend ChatGPT understands that gravel tires and gravel cycling, like they're just like peas in a pod, man. It's like you can't have that. You can't have a conversation about gravel and not talk tires. So one of the questions that comes in around the hype of tires versus the reality. All right. So on the marketing versus performance, I've been hitting this marketing thing for a couple episodes now. I really don't have anything against people that do marketing for a living. I just see right through it. It must be old age, but so is the get off my lawn. So is the gravel industry, or is the tire industry? Are they really selling us like real changes, real game changing advances, or is it just incremental that they kind of disguise and sort of trick you into believing there's something real and it's just not that big of a deal?
Oh, it's incremental. That's the way. That's the way the bike industry is in general. Like we all see where this is going. Like we all see that basically, if you can get a gravel bike to fit like 2.2 tires, and have the gravel geometry, and be able to probably have a be geometry sufficient so that if you add a suspension fork to it, it'll be still in its same geometry. Like we all know that's where it's going.
Yeah.
But the bicycle industry is going to go, well, right now, this claimed tire width is 48 millimeters. And then, the 2006 model is going to be claimed width of 50 millimeters.
Yeah.
So then it's just this incremental thing because, again, the bicycle industry can't make these huge jumps because they won't have anything to sell in the meantime.
Sure.
So they have to kind of baby step you along and get you.
The technology doesn't advance fast enough to have enough products in the hopper.
Exactly.
Year over year. Yeah. It's not quite like a technology industry where, the advancements are doubling, like seemingly doubling every year.
It's like you had ChatGPT.
Yeah.
Now you have Grok. You have
16
OpenAI. You have,
mm-hmm.
you have, heck, I have Duolingo on my phone, and now it's got some kind of AI generated person that you can talk your second language to.
Yeah.
It's like that kind of stuff is insane. But the bicycle industry, the bikes haven't changed, in hundreds of years. So it's like, I mean, we just came out with 13 speed.
Right. And that was after almost a decade of 12 speed, right?
Yeah.
I mean, not quite maybe, but it's pretty close.
And then almost
a long
15 years of 10 speed.
Right. Yeah, and I think that's really it. At the risk of getting a little far off the topic here, I know you were reading, we could have covered this in the news, but you were reading an article a while back about just the bike industry as a whole and how they're sitting, and I've seen more and more about this too. They're just sitting on inventory.
Yeah.
Like they can't get rid of it.
So they're not going to make new bikes.
Yeah.
They're not going to make these huge jumps because
the incentive isn't there for the innovation.
Why would I buy, let's say the Checkpoint. What is that? Is that a Trek?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Trek,
that's a Trek.
Yep.
So let's say the Trek Checkpoint right now fits like 45 millimeter tire. They're not going to make a new bike that'll fit a 50 tire.
Right. And then have to sit on
and
all
then
that
sit on
inventory.
this because of the hopes that somebody was going to buy this Checkpoint.
Yeah.
And so it's just like, no, they're not going to do that. They're just going to, that's why like you've seen the new SL8 is just Specialized came out with that. I just saw that. It came out with just a new paint scheme, not a new frame geometry. So basically they took the ones that they have in the warehouse and they pulled them out, sanded them down, repainted them.
I don't know if they did that or not, but they sure look nice.
Or they just painted them because they had them in storage. Like depending on the way the company's like, and I understand like these big companies, they have to make money too, and they have to plan for the long haul. But the other part is like we have to suffer. I don't
Not sure
think
that
that's great.
I don't want to get into the debate here because that is a whole episode and there's plenty of people that talk about it. But during the COVID years, I'm not sure they were playing for the long haul there because they got awful greedy real quick on how to upcharge for every little thing. I will give some of them some credit though. I mean, a lot of manufacturers, maybe not the bigger ones, but they did the best they could to get inventory and all that. But now they're sitting on a bunch, and I am surprised. Like SRAM released the new it was last year, 2 years ago, but they released the new derailleur hanger, integrated hanger, built in, and then now it's all that transmission derailleur and all that. It's all cool technology, but I'm afraid it's just going to sit for a while because who's buying the frames,
Right?
And so anyway, just goes back to the point though. I think that the industry as a whole has a problem with reality versus marketing.
Yeah.
And so, hopefully we can start to see some real advancements in the tire technology and in terms of, not just the technology, but the actual, like the sizing and maybe the frames eventually catch up, or maybe everybody just starts buying mountain bike frames and racing those. I don't know.
Yeah.
What the answer is.
I mean, the chances are, I don't think a 2.2 tire is faster than like a 45 mil.
Sure.
Like if you could get the same, tire casing combination as in a 45 versus a 2.2, I imagine the 45 is going to be a little bit faster.
Yeah.
So it's just, that kind of stuff. Like once the gravel tires start to catch up with what mountain bike tires are going, then we're probably going to see the sizing shift back down.
Yeah.
Which is, but you have to wait for tire manufacturers to make those tires. Like it's not like we can go out and make our own tires. I'm not smelting rubber and stuff, like coming up with my own compounds and all that stuff. So
no. And that's the thing. I mean, there's a ton of investment in the material side of it, which is again why there's not that many manufacturers. I mean, it's a whole cycle of a bit of a mess, but maybe if demand starts to pick up a little bit and it comes back around and we get some real innovation. But right now it just kind of feels like we're in this sort of lull, and it's
we're stuck in the part where we have to wait the next couple years before you see some really good innovation, because we're sitting on a lot of the industry's sitting on a lot of stuff.
So one of the things that has kind of moved on a little bit is especially on the road side. So this is kind of one of the questions that came up on here is on the tubeless front. So we're seeing more and more roads. The tour pros are riding tubeless. I'm not sure there are many left riding quenchers or the tubulars. I don't think there's that many left. There might be. So on the tubeless side, I mean, this probably answers itself because of that. But have tubeless tires actually solved more problems than they've created, or are they just trading pinch flats for sidewall cuts and sealant messes? Which sealant messes are a real thing. It's be a bit of a disaster, but and just all the maintenance of having to deal with it. But I mean, I have to tell you, for myself, I switched to road tubeless, and I love it.
Yeah,
I mean, I haven't had a failure yet, knock on wood, but
I think with the fact that you can run your road tires a little bit wider now, like they're running 28s to 30 mil, like you can make the tire, like when tubeless first came out for road bikes, and you're trying to put like 110 psi in a 25 mil tire. Like if you got a pin puncture and a big guy like me is riding it, you're spraying sealant everywhere. It wasn't sealing up. Like it was just too much pressure for that sealant.
Slow it down a little.
For that sealant to handle.
Yeah.
Now that now that you got, these bigger volume tires, they can, it gives chance for the sealant to work. There's not so much pressure behind it. The pressure differential is not as bad. And so like you're able to repair these punctures without even noticing.
Yeah.
So, now that there's road tubeless, like, heck, man, I can't even remember. Like, I just change the sealant out. And that's it. That's all I do.
Yeah.
Every year I do that. I do the maintenance on the sealant, and I just keep riding. It's way easier than having
mess around
tubes.
With tubes. Yeah. For sure. I mean, it's a whole different world. And then now the sealants are getting, actually the sealants are getting some advancement. You're starting to see more and more sealant approaches to sealant, where you're getting the fibers that are kind of into the sealant, Silco makes the one that's like, it's like a freaking soup. It's like,
Yeah,
it's just
it'll puncture.
thick. It'll seal everything.
Yeah, seal everything.
Probably, stab it with a kitchen knife, it'd probably seal it up. So, so on the pressure side of things and some of the tech that's around that, we've seen again. I think earlier this year in the Pro Tour, we saw a couple teams riding with like tire sensors, and we're going to see it again when Paris-Roubaix happens. Well, I guarantee we're going to see it there because it was tried last year. I'm wondering if any amateurs are doing it yet, because this whole notion of having your tire pressure dialed in and then being able to adjust it sort of on the fly. That sounds really good, I think, in concept, but in practicality, I'm not sure if it's really going to get you much. Like, is that a real thing, do you think, or is that just kind of useless tech that people are going to waste their money on?
I don't know about. I mean, knowing your pressure is probably good, just so that you kind of like you can see whether or not like your tire heats up or and there's a expansion due to heat and all that other stuff, or or that your pump is reading the right the thing is like, well, if the pump reading said that I was put in 30 pounds but now my little gauge thing that I bought says that it's 45. No wonder it's messed up. And you do have like issues with pumps that like they read correct at one level, but as the pressure either gets higher or lower, there's certain ranges that the pumps don't, they're not, unless you invest in like a $200 pump, which is, calibrated and all that stuff, it's going to be a lot better. But if you're if you're using your $50 Walmart pump, that's going to basically, you're just going to be like, okay. So, as far as the digital or the tire pressure, it would be nice to know, because how many times have you seen a race where like, the guy's like checking his tire, but he's like, he doesn't know if it went flat. And so like, it'd be a good thing to be able to like swipe over instead of like hopping out of the peloton, jumping around, making sure your tire's flat. You
push
just
hard
kind
to
of
get back. And
you just kind of slide over and you go, nope, it's just me. And then you move on,
Yeah.
So, but I don't think that the whole idea of like having something that's going to pressurize and depressurize and, at a whim, like another thing for you to think about, just pick a tire pressure and just go with it, man.
Yeah. Feels like it's disaster waiting to happen, and then you got the added weight too of something like that. I mean, for us, it was not a big deal because I add and drop that weight probably over the course of the day, but like for a pro, I could see where the stuff like that starts to get in the way. I just don't know if adding that kind of weight makes a lot of sense.
Well, and then you think about like, okay, if you're optimizing for every section of the course, like how much mental overhead is that taking? And is that like, like you have to remember like 6 different pressures?
Yeah.
Like,
I'll be shocked if UCI even lets it continue. If it picks up any popularity, I can't see how UCI will let it stick around. So,
yeah.
All right. So that was a good one. So then just another bit of on the technology side, and these have been around for a long time, but like, I know we were kind of toying around with the idea of having the tire inserts, the foam inserts.
Yeah.
A lot of people still run them.
Yeah. I think they're great.
Yeah. So like, do they actually, so the question is do they actually help, or are they just is it just an excuse to run pressures so low that you never ride without them? Which is, I mean, I know there's people that do.
Yeah. So I ride them just because, if you kind of know the course is going to be, there's like, if you're riding a gravel bike on a mountain bike course, then you probably want inserts, especially if you have nice wheels and you don't want to damage those.
Do you still ride inserts in yours?
No. I just don't go that hard. I'm like, it's not worth it.
Yeah.
But I have, and I would if I felt like we were riding a course that demanded it.
Sure.
It's not they're not hard to put in. You just put them in and you just deal with it. But, what's nice about them is, they protect your rim, and that's kind of what you want. Like if you're, and it would be, I guess, different if I was able to, let's say, keep up with the moderately fast group, because when you're riding in a group, you guys are just riding single file, right? And somebody goes a little bit, to the left or to the right, and there's a big rock there that you didn't see, and so like you're gonna hit more stuff when you're riding in a pack than you are, when you're riding by yourself and you can see the whole road.
Right.
So you tend to, like, if I was riding in more of a group setting on gravel, then I probably would run inserts, just because there's just that added level of protection for the rims, just for the rims, not just for anything else.
Sure.
So.
Yeah, I think it's, I don't know. I mean, the whole insert thing, I don't even know. I don't think I really know anybody that swears by them. I just know there's people that use them, but
I mean, they're great. If you get a flat, they're just you can
just keep going.
can just keep going, just keep riding until you're like, yeah, I'm done.
Yeah, maybe I would have beat the sun last year if I had them. But
you just ride around on them. I mean,
so, yeah, that's all good. So I think the last thing is really just on pressures in general. I mean, what's the like? I know we mentioned it earlier. I think until you kind of know what you feel, until you feel like you have a good sense of like, hey, this is the sweet spot of pressure for me for this tire combination. Again, it changes by tire. You just kind of got to keep tweaking with it, right? There's no answers. Like there's all kinds of calculators online, and they give you a ballpark.
I would say use the Silka calculator, and then go in 2 pound increments, above and below.
Yeah, just get
and see what that feels like, because maybe it gives you 30 psi, and then you're like, that's the sweet spot. Or maybe you're like, I kind of like 28s. 28s feels a little bit better. Feel like I roll a little bit. Everything, I feel faster. And definitely like, don't just do it by feel. Like go to a section of gravel and just go like, okay, I think the chunkiest, the part that I'm concerned about on my race is a gravel section that kind of looks like this or whatever, or this is the gnarliest gravel section I know, that I have access to. And you ride it and you go, okay, well, how fast was I? And then you go and ride it again, at a certain wattage. Sure. And you're like, okay, am I getting faster with less pressure, or am I getting slower? Yeah. And go from there. Yep. And then hopefully you find the right pressure that works for you.
Still trial and error, no matter how you shake it. Yeah. So cool. What else? Anything else?
I think that's it.
All right.
I mean, yeah.
So we've successfully entered the tire mania debate.
Yeah, tire mania. Yeah, I didn't really recommend any kind of tires. Of course, I think it's all individual. There's pros and cons to every tire that I hear. There's diehard fans for every single tire. So there's Maxxis people, there's Renee Hurst people, there's Specialized people, there's all those people.
We are not staking claim in that war.
We're not in there for that.
We're
not
Switzerland.
Here. Yeah, we are. I'm just here to ride a tire. I don't really care, as long as it's round, made of rubber, and it's somewhat puncture protected. I'm gonna go with it. So
all right, sounds good.
All right, man.
Thank you for listening to this episode. Please, if you like what we are doing here, leave a like, rate us, comment, subscribe, and share with your friends. It really helps us grow and finds us more SufferSooner squad mates. And remember, when the finish line feels impossibly far away, we don't give up, we push harder, we dig deeper, and we find solace in the knowledge that our suffering is temporary and our resilience is forever.